Thank you for the hat love. You guys are going to have to guess. If you don't know whose guest is coming on today, who our guest is, is this a Jess solo? Could be, could be. That song is for our guest, so that will be your hint. Who's coming on? I may be solo. Well, I'm not solo. We have got a great guest today. Jason has been attempting to get in with pretty Jenny on the block. Pretty bad Wi-Fi at his hotel in India. Block him! Okay, I'm gonna have a hard time keeping up with this chat. You guys are already making me laugh. Okay, I came in hot from a softball field. I'm glad I made it. Look at Jason is in the chat. I'm glad I made it because Jason's having trouble getting here. This is how we roll. Meetup number 270, 5.5 years hanging out on Fridays. Before we get too far along, who's new here? We always have somebody new every week. We're so like organic with this meetup. We don't do a great job of promoting it everywhere. We should. We need to fix that. But people find us, which is amazing. Jason's watching. This is crazy. Yeah, you think I'm that mom? Okay, so here's the deal. My daughter Kenna is my middle daughter. She's 14. Two of my kids play fast pitch softball. And Kenna finished her state tournament last weekend, did great, and then she got picked up for a national tournament that happens to be local. So that worked out. Got picked up by a really incredible team who needed a center fielder. Yes. Kenna is an incredible softball player. This is her 7th year playing. She gets better every year. Here's the thing about fast pitch. If you've ever watched fast pitch, like if you watch the college teams playing on TV, if you've seen them in person, these girls, these women who play fast pitch, they are strong, and some of them, like they are built athletes. Kenna is still a little bit of a runt of a player. She's small. And now that she's 14, a lot of her teammates are outgrowing her, literally. But Kenna knows her strength, and every coach knows Kenna's strength. She is fast as shit. She is fast. And she's a really smart base runner. And it helps to have a really fast center fielder, too. She runs everything down. I know, I just got us our explicit rating. Anyway, so they just won their 3rd game of the tournament. It's a 4-day tournament, so we're smack dab in the middle of it. I took today off to watch her play. The term is wispy. Yes, she is a wispy player. Anyway, they're undefeated so far. 3 games in, they've won all 3. This is a fun team to watch. They're good. They use their bats. It's crazy. It's crazy watching them play. When they get to this age and above, it's like awe-inspiring the way they whip the ball around and the way they hit it. One of the players almost hit it over the fence today, and it was like a 270-foot fence. And she's 14. So anyway, I'm glad I made it home, and then I'm back out the door to watch the rest of the tournament for the next couple of days. Nobody told me if they're new here. I'm watching Jason struggle in the back end of this thing, trying to get on. Oh, I love it. So Jason's been in India all week. He went, we have teams in India, Mercer people in India, and I hope he got a lot of good time with them as well. But one of the reasons he went to India was our friends from People Matters hosting their Tech HR conference. And I know how much Jason loves India and the people of India. I love that they're simply amazing. What a beautiful nation with people focused on the future. I cannot wait to get this download. And loved Mercer India team loved Jason. Yes, I love to hear that.
Hello, Jess.
Yes, Jason.
Oh, I'm so sorry that the connection is so bad. It's good to see everyone. I hope everyone's doing great. Yeah, it's 10:35 p.m. here on Friday night in India. My flight is at 3 a.m. In like 5 hours.
Oh
So
my.
really, really excited to get back, but at the same time, I have to say it's been Papa Smurf. I have to say it's been an amazing trip. I did the closing keynote today here in India
Mm.
to 5,000 people. Um,
Wow.
which the conference has just ballooned, and just really, really exciting. So beautiful people, beautiful nation. Didn't know I was coming to monsoon season,
Oh,
which was my fault. I unfortunately slipped really hard on marble and hit my head on some marble. So that was an interesting journey, but overall, amazing trip.
holy cow. Well, I hope you're okay. It's good to hear from you. Thanks for popping in. The big question now with your flight in 5 hours, are you going to take a cat nap or are you going to power through and sleep home?
I haven't seen a cat the whole time I've been here, but while I was driving, there were cows in the middle of the freeway. So I think it's probably take a cow nap.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes, Anita, the marble here is crazy. I'm so glad she just said that. Uh, like literally today for the keynote, I wore tennis shoes because I wasn't
Ugh.
going to take a chance again. But yeah, the polished marble, once it gets wet, is just amazing.
And look at Anita said a Mercer colleague broke her arm and toe slipping in a hotel. Maybe somebody needs to put rugs down.
Yeah, James, we'll share the link. The whole thing has been recorded. If you look at my LinkedIn, there's a bunch of posts on it. So it's been a great event. But there's been some news in the space too, Jess. I mean, like
Okay.
smart recruiters and SAP. Like, I mean, we should probably at least acknowledge such, right?
Yeah, for sure. You see, I'm not very good at the rituals without you, Jason. I was maybe going to comment on that for our one big thing this week. Because I'm off yesterday and today, I didn't wake up and do my usual routines this morning. I hustled out the door pretty fast and I missed like a flurry of emails pre-announcing the intended acquisition. So I saw it like really randomly on my phone first. Uh, yeah, I'm still processing. I think I need to read a couple of updates and SAP intends to acquire smart recruiters. I'm a big fan of both organizations. A lot of us are. I've got a lot of friends who work in both organizations. I was acquired myself by SAP years ago, spent a couple of years there before I went back to the startup world. And so I'm pretty familiar with a lot of their talent technology, and I can totally see it. I can totally see it. But I have questions too, like a lot of us do. But really interesting. I can't say I had that on my bingo card for this year. How about you, Jason? Oh, did we
Yeah,
lose?
Jess,
Yeah,
I think I might be breaking. I think I might be breaking up a little bit.
yeah,
Can you hear me?
yeah. It's a little bit broken up.
Okay. Well, I did the green, yellow, red. I hope we've got some green, yellow, red participants here. I am very green, and I just want to. I hope that I don't. Can you hear me, Jess?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, good. I just wanted to answer Leo's question because
Uh-huh.
it,
It's a
it
good one.
is really an important. It's a great question, and Leo, thank you for asking the question. He asked. He said one thing I always wanted to ask Jason is, does he ever get emotional during something near and dear to him at an event? Um, and the answer to that question is a resounding
Yeah.
yes. So I counted. Uh, I counted, Leo. I took 624 selfies today.
That's impossible. Well, not impossible.
Nope, it's
I
not.
cooked.
624. I counted. And every single person is so grateful. Every single person is so um, thankful. And every single person, Lynn, that is funny. And every single person is so humane
Mm,
here. Every country has its problems,
yeah.
but uh, in a country that is got such amazing population growth, in a country where by 2047, most of the people that are going to work, most of the people that are going to work are going to be in this part of the world.
Mm, yeah.
Uh, so like when you think about that, there is so much. And Anita, like you said, they simply love having their pics taken with celebrities. Yeah, celebrities is funny, but they do. And literally the line, they had to have security take a lot, this is the second time this has happened to me here, like monitor the line because people were trying to get in front of people to get a selfie. So I literally, Leo, I left there and I was in tears inside because you kind of leave it all on the stage, then you leave it all with people emotionally, and then you hope that one or two people take something away and make their lives better. So I'll leave it
Mm.
at that, Jess. That's my one big thing.
Oh, I love that. Well, let's have everybody else share. Thanks for sharing green, yellow, red. Let's have everybody else share one big thing from the week. If you're new here and you've not done this with us before, it can be work, personal, big, small, doesn't matter. One big thing to you from the week kind of just helps us all reflect um on something that happened, good or bad. It's always my favorite part to see what you all share. I'm having a blast watching my daughter do something she loves dearly. It's one of my favorite things to do, watching her play her heart out. Tomorrow, as if the weekend isn't busy enough, tomorrow I said yes to a friend who is a local fashion designer. She's having a fundraiser fashion show tomorrow because she has a nonprofit like I do that provides sewing classes to young people. So she's looking to buy some new machines for her studio to continue providing these types of classes for young people in our community. And so I'm walking in her fashion show tomorrow. I love doing stuff like this. I love saying yes. I love doing something to support young people, especially in our own community. When I said yes, I've done for weird reasons. I have a lot of friends who are creatives, and so for a weird reason, I have emceed a lot of fashion shows. My friends ask me to do this. They know that I'm comfortable on stage. When I said yes to this, I don't think it occurred to me until after that I've actually never walked myself. I was like, wait a minute, I don't think I know what to do. And I texted her. I said, Mimi, I don't think I've ever walked before. I've only emceed. And she goes, you're going to kill it. I'm like, okay, I guess we're going to kill it tomorrow. So I'm excited to do that. I'm going to go right after we wrap this up. I'm going to go sneak in a quick fitting and then I'm going to go back to a softball field. This is what I do on my days off, apparently.
Hey,
Let's see.
Jess,
Yes.
I just thought I'd show one picture.
Let's see it. Oh, look at this. What are we looking at? There you are.
So this was that's me. You can see some tennis shoes there. This was the afternoon keynote. Um, and these are my slides. And we had about 5,000 people in a huge auditorium. So um, just an amazing job by People Matters. If you don't follow People Matters, I highly recommend you follow them. Last night they had the musical artist that created the music for Slumdog Millionaire do a concert,
Oh my
for those of
gosh.
you that have ever seen that movie. So a lot of Bollywood going on, and people were dancing until 11:45. So just an amazing
Oh,
event.
oh, I love that. Thank you, thank you. And Jess Chung, yes, she said her one big thing is spending. She came to the game yesterday. Jess Chung, one of my colleagues here at Mercer, stopped by Kenna's second game yesterday and got to see the literal, like, I'll stop talking about Kenna in a second. Stole second. Kenna was the tying run. Like, we needed her to score. It was game over and a loss. She stole second. She steals her way to home every single time. So she happened to be the perfect runner on base at that moment when we needed her. Stole second. They lost the ball. She stole third. It was just a wild finish, and of course she stole home, and then the winning run got around too. And Jess was there to see it. Yes, I'm that mom screaming like crazy when that stuff happens. Kristen reconnected with a friend you haven't seen or been in contact with for 12 years. That is incredible. There's a couple of old friends that I want that to happen with, actually. Lori, your daughter Ashley and son in law had a 9-pound boy, 2 weeks overdue. Cooper James. Oh, congratulations. I'm so happy to hear that. Jesse, really fun presentation explaining the value of HR transformation using your cat. Jason would love that. We have funny conversations about cats on here. Great feedback. Fantastic. Uh, yes. Uh, Gut-wrenching movie. I'm assuming you're talking about Slumdog Millionaire. Amazing. Kristen, former colleague, reached out upon his retirement, thanked him for hiring him 20 years ago. Oh, I love that. Katie, I'll send you a link. Yes, I don't know if her nonprofit has a link. Her design studio does. I'll send you a link. Wendy got started on a fitness kick, back on the Peloton. I love it. I love it. All right, we've got a fantastic guest this week. I want to bring Jennifer McClure on. A lot of you in here, if you follow thought leaders and influencers in the space, or just seasoned pros who share a lot, write a lot, talk a lot about HR and HR transformation, you know exactly who's coming on to join me. And yes, Steve, Disrupt HR queen as well. Jennifer, thank you for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. It sounds like you've got a great community here of people who are
Oh,
engaged. Love it.
yeah, we do. We launched this Now of Work community 5.5 years ago. It was sort of a pandemic thing, a way to keep everybody connected and having important conversations. And we've just never let it go, because it turns out we're still needing to have important conversations about the future of work and the future of HR. Will you introduce yourself to people who may not know why Steve Jewell just called you the Disrupt HR Queen, and lots of other titles I'm sure you could claim, to give everybody a sense of your background?
Sure. Well, I've been around for a long time, longer probably than many of the people on this call. Started out as an HR
Jason just
leader.
says more than 5 years.
Yeah. Now I've changed it to decades instead of saying the number of years. It's
Yeah.
been a few decades. So I started as an HR leader, department of one, and then transitioned into some leadership and executive roles. Spent a little bit of time in executive search. And for the last 15 years, I've had my own business where I'm a professional speaker and I talk about the future of work and innovative people strategies and high impact leadership. And I had the opportunity to be the opening keynote at the People Matters conference 2 or 3 years ago, and it was in a hotel. So clearly they have grown. There were about, I think, 3,000 people there then. So wonderful event. I remember of that as I landed at 2 a.m. It was my first time in India. Landed at 2 a.m., walked out the doors of the airport, and my glasses fogged over and they never stopped. It was so humid. Uh, and
Yeah.
even at 2 a.m., the traffic from the airport to the hotel was everything I'd ever heard it would be. So,
Oh my
um,
gosh.
in addition to speaking, training, doing a little bit of coaching, I am also the founder of Disrupt HR, which we started here in Cincinnati, Ohio, where I live in 2013, December 2013. So almost 12 years. We thought it'd just be one event in Cincinnati, and
Hmm.
we are 12 years later with 174 licensed cities in 34 countries and over 10,000 5-minute Disrupt HR talks online. So, really proud
Oh,
of providing an opportunity, or at least a spark, for people to share their ideas about the future of work in the workplace. Some of them are really, like anything, some of them are really great. Some of them are just people who challenge themselves to speak on stage for the first time. And I love that. And some are people saying the same old things that they always do, and we move on.
yeah. Steve, thanks for that memory. So you brought Disrupt HR to Minneapolis, and was it really 2016? And I did sit next to Steve Jewell in the audience. That inspired him to do his own Disrupt gig in 2019. I love that. Nicole in Denver. Do you think that's right, Jennifer? Second or third city for Disrupt HR, she's thinking.
It was the second, if you count that, after Cincinnati. My friend Mary Faulkner came to the Cincinnati event, and she's the spark. I always say, when you use that example of, if you remember the dancing guy at the Sasquatch Festival and the third guy
Yes.
in a movement, Mary was the spark that made it a movement, because Chris and I are the crazy dancers dancing by ourselves, my co-founder. Uh,
Oh,
And she was the one that said, I'd love to do this in Denver. So if Mary had said that, we probably would have just had one event in Cincinnati. So Mary Faulkner in Denver, and Denver, I think, just had their 23rd event, something like that. You know,
Wow.
New York City is going to have their 30th in the fall. So
That's
um,
crazy.
lots of
I've
people.
been to Minneapolis, obviously, but also Chicago, and they all have the same vibe and formula, and they're fun and different. They're hard to describe to somebody who hasn't been, because we're used to sitting at conferences like People Matters or HR Tech or on any of the industry conferences, and they're all fantastic, but sessions are, long. It's a different model. Disrupt HR is quick hitting and a little bit more provocative, it feels like. So, however, you have managed to stir things up and achieve that, thank you, because we do need to have different kinds of conversations, a little bit more punchy, a little bit more out of the box. Leading me to maybe my first question. What do you were using disrupt years ago. It feels like that's all we hear these days. We have to disrupt. We have to disrupt. Everything is disruption everywhere all the time. What do you make of where we are right now and how has the conversation changed? Everything is disruptive, everything is transformational. HR is always lagging, falling behind, we're never doing enough. Are we actually in a better state to disrupt and transform it? I'd love your take.
Sure, I think that's a great question. Yeah, when we started in 2013, my co-founder is a startup guy in the tech space, and so he was involved with TechCrunch Disrupt, and he's the one that said, let's call it Disrupt. And then when the pandemic happened, I said, no one's going to want to disrupt HR or anything ever again. So Disrupt HR will probably die a slow, quiet death. And we just laid low for like a year and a half because we liked live events, and those weren't possible. And then it's come back bigger and better than ever. So I think the idea of wanting to be a change agent, to do things differently, to think outside of the box is probably more popular than ever. But what I
Mm,
think has changed is you're being forced to disrupt now, where
yeah.
before it was aspirational. I want to be disruptive. I want to think differently. I want to do cool new things. Where now, with the pace of change and the technology innovations and the impact on the workplace, that has happened in the post-pandemic world, where the expectations of the workforce has changed, not just the younger generations, but all generations. We're being forced to think disruptively, I think, every day, or to, in some cases, react to the disruptions that are happening to us. So to me, I think that's how it's evolved. It's gone from being disruption being a space where the cool, edgy people played, to you're in it now, whether you were wanting to be there or not, and you're having to figure out how to think about transformational change versus staying the same.
Torrin said disrupt was the hardest presentation he's ever had to prepare for. Yes, Steve, we'll get to horses shortly. So I talk a lot about this stuff as well, and I try to keep myself honest every time I prepare something for a stage, for a webinar, for a conversation, a podcast interview. I really do try to check myself about just waxing poetic about all the things we're supposed to be doing. I try to keep it realistic and thoughtful, put one foot in front of the other. I think sequencing and prioritization is important. It's much harder, almost impossible to boil the ocean. You're not going to build the progress that's sustainable over time. A couple of weeks ago, this has really stuck with me. A few weeks ago, I hosted Mercer. This is our weekly meetup, more casual. We also have an AI forum, which is every other month we host this massive forum. Every other month is not even often enough to talk about AI and everything that's happening. But it was huge, like thousands of people. The chat was going crazy, and I'm chatting away, talking about all the stuff I talk about with a co-host. And a woman in the chat said, the more you talk, the more overwhelmed I feel. And I stopped cold. And I said, let's talk about that then, because I think what you said is accurate. I think people feel dragged into the future of work. I think, especially if you're talking about AI, if you're doing skills, you're transforming. If you're doing AI, you're transforming. There's almost nothing you're working on that isn't transformational these days? Because there's so many things swirling around us that if it's not transformation, you're probably lifting and shifting and repeating something that's been done before, and that's okay too. Maybe there's a place for that stuff if you're just updating a handbook or whatever. Like, but there's almost nothing that doesn't feel big. And where do you stop and start anymore? Any advice for somebody? And I feel like there's probably a lot of people that are like, okay, drag me along. Like, any advice for how we can approach this in a way that doesn't feel as overwhelming?
Mhm. And it's true. I mean, I've been there myself. I mean, how many times I don't think it's because of my age or my generation, but maybe it is. How many times does a tech platform or something change? You log in and I use Trello for my project management, and good Lord, they keep changing it. And I'm like, I liked it the way it was. but for some reason they keep changing it. I think we have to approach these things with a sense of curiosity. So instead of saying, I need to be the expert, I need to understand everything that's happening around me, if you can just tiptoe or dip your toe in with, I just want to learn. I want to be curious about what's going on around me. I always encourage, especially HR leaders, to look at your consumer experience. Again, how do you interact with the world? You go into McDonald's now, you order on a kiosk, can have things online recommended to you and based off your likes and preferences. We should be looking at how we navigate the world and then seeing if that's also how our employees are able to navigate in the workplace.
Mm.
And that's, I think, a good way for us to be curious. Wow, I had the ability to, travel with just my phone and get my itinerary and decide where I wanted to go and book all my reservations. But yet when I go back to work, it's about paper forms or it's about approvals. So if we approach it with a sense of curiosity and thinking about what makes my life easy in life, and is it that way in the workplace? And then how can we explore if it's not, integrating that into the workplace so that our employees feel like their life and their work are seamless. That's how I coach people, is just really to fire up your curiosity. That's your biggest opportunity, I think, anyway, to just be curious, always asking questions. Why is this a problem? Well, this looks like an opportunity. How can we take advantage of it? But that might help with some of the overwhelm with all of the change going around. I'm curious, what's the area where I can make the biggest impact? Yes, all this stuff's still going to happen, but where can I work or apply my focus so that we can have the biggest impact? I know the last company that I joined as a VP of HR was a pretty toxic workplace. It was about to go bankrupt, and so a lot of problems. And that was why I joined, was the opportunity to have make a real difference with change there. And I was given 3 priorities when I joined. And so my first job was to go out and to understand why the executive team felt like those were the top 3 priorities for HR. And what I
Mm.
discovered through just asking questions, through talking to employees, by holding small group meetings, by asking them how they would improve the workplace, was the 3 priorities the executive team gave me weren't the real priorities at all. Were they
Yeah.
still issues? Did they still need to be solved? Were there 1,000 things on the list that needed to be solved? Yes. But I had to tell myself, I'm going to pick 3. I'm going to work on these 3. And one of those was building trust, because there was no trust. That wasn't mentioned by the executive team. But I wasn't going to be able to make all of those changes if we as a leadership team didn't have trust of the employees, and me in particular, with things that were going to impact their pay, their benefits, their work environment, et cetera.
Yeah.
So, understanding the environment, being curious, again, going out and asking questions and having that be the goal, rather than I got to come in and I got to change this policy. I got to find a new, create a whole new benefits program. I've got to completely upend their pay structure. No, let's
Mm.
start by being curious and how can we attack this in the most impactful way. And for me, that was building trust rather than starting with a new performance management system, which was one of the goals that they gave me. Well, I could have created a new performance management system or brought in the one that I had at the previous workplace, but no one would have trusted it if they felt
Right.
we weren't trustworthy as leaders.
Oh, I love that. I love Aman's comment earlier in the chat. Disruption has increasingly shifted our focus from people to technology, which unfortunately is one of its unintended downsides. That's part of what's kind of driving me nuts a little bit on all this AI stuff. Like, you can't go a single day anymore without, you talk about work, you're talking about AI these days. And I think, and I do believe, I absolutely believe AI literacy is important important. I think we're putting a lot of pressure on everybody to be AI experts, to be expert operators, to be hands-on with all of the tools, to know what's what and which model is better for this task or that task. Yes, yes. But kind of to your point about building trust and like it's 2025 outside of work, what year does it feel like inside of work? Just close that chasm a little bit more, especially in employee journeys and moments that really matter to people, make their work more fluid and intuitive, personalized. I think that AI literacy is important, yes, but not everybody needs to be an AI expert operator, expert user, even all that well trained to benefit from what AI will do for workforce experience. It's you guys, this is going to be embedded in almost everything if it's not already, and it's just going to improve the way I receive training and development or the way my performance management is thought about and conducted. It will improve my journey, whether or not I'm the actual hands-on keyboard operator of the tool. And so there's a lot of benefits that I think we can explain to people or we can convey and communicate to people that don't put the pressure on, and you must be an expert user. Like, I wish we could sort of shift the conversation a little bit. Like we all can and will hopefully benefit from AI in the following ways. And if you want to be an expert user or more proficient yourself, here are things that you can do in your own job to improve. Um, Organizations keep telling everybody to learn AI for themselves without providing tooling and time and that kind of thing. Yes, tell people what skills you want them to have and how to get them and give them access. But also, that's not the only AI, that's not the only way we're going to realize benefit and impact.
Mhm.
I don't know, just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I listened to a podcast recently, David Green's podcast, and now the name of it's escaping me, but surely y'all have heard of David Green's podcast.
Yeah.
He always has leaders on talking about, and it was, I believe, a leader from Seagate, and she has implemented, within the company, within her team. I think they're not going to be doing any more hires for a certain period of time because they want employees. And I think this again is where we as leaders can really help our people who are struggling with that and help ourselves. The focus for the next period of time, instead of on hiring, is they want employees to look at how AI can empower them. So thinking of it as an empowerment tool, how does it help me to do my work better? How does it help me to be more efficient? And we want you to use this time, and we expect you to be using these tools to figure out how you can make your work better. A much better message than we want you to figure out how use these tools to eliminate the work that you do, so that, underneath the surface, we're eventually going to eliminate you. I think
Right.
of our leadership really helping employees to see AI as an empowerment tool, that it can help me do my work better. It can help me grow my skills. It can help me have more time to focus on strategic work or more value added work. If we approach it that way, not just in our words, but also in our actions, then I think people will start to, again, get curious about AI. If we're sharing use cases, I just did a presentation at the Sherm Annual Conference, and going into the, creating the presentation earlier this year, I was like, I am not going to talk about AI because everybody at this conference is going to be talking about AI. I'm not going to, you can't not talk about it. I had to say, I'm going to talk about AI, but I'm going to talk about AI from the perspective of how do we humanize work? How do we, utilize AI, but still focus on the humans at work? And so some of the case studies that I brought in, of course, we talked about Moderna and how they've combined HR and IT, and the headlines around that all, I think the undertone of the headlines is that HR is going to be eliminated. But really, Moderna approached that in a different way, where they said, first, let's start with what is the work that is uniquely human? And then what can we use AI to either transform or do differently or better? So it really matters, I think, both in our messaging and our approach as leaders to how we are bringing AI into the workplace and into people's work. If it's, the headlines around IBM, well, IBM eliminated, thousands of HR jobs that were completely irrelevant and unnecessary because of AI. Well, that's one way to say it. Then you're telling your people that they're at risk. Another way of saying it is we're going to focus on how AI can empower you to do your job better, we're going to shift our model from recruiting talent from the outside to developing talent inside, because all of us are going to need to continue to grow and develop our skills. We're going to provide pathways for you to learn and grow. We're going to use AI to show you where the skills that you have may be something that you could do a different job, grow in a different path if that's what you choose. I think we need to highlight more of the opportunities that AI brings to the workplace, rather than a lot of the messaging that's out there today, which is around elimination. Your job is going to be taken not just by AI, but someone who knows how to use AI.
Oh my gosh, I can't even hear it one more time.
Right. We need to be talking about how this person used AI, or this team or this company used AI to do this differently. And as a result, they were able to have their people focus on this, which is what only the people can do. And it's been a great success. I think we need to talk more about that.
Yeah, agree. Bryce, I saw your comment, embedded is a funny word in this context. Um, by that, I mean, if you, if my open enrollment came around and the tools that I use told me, Jess, based on your history and based on your dependents and based on like, if I got more intelligent recommendations about benefits that I maybe didn't know I had or wasn't fully leveraging, and the system would prompt me to say, wow, we know a lot about you or how you use your benefits or how you've enrolled before, and we have even better recommendations for how you can leverage the programs available to you. Or if the systems I spend time in every day said, wow, it looks like Jess is really good at these things or produces really high value, impactful work in these places, but she doesn't actually put any of those skills on her profile. We should saturate her talent profile with some of the things we know she's like. If some of our systems just got naturally smarter and more intelligent and served up more personalized, individualized recommendations, our systems should intuit more about us. And that's one of the huge opportunities, I think, of more intelligent systems and technologies that we use to do work every day. And that doesn't, even before AI was a thing, I used to always say Instagram and Amazon know more about your workforce than you do. When you're designing workforce experience, act like you know your people. You have a lot of data about them, and we're not using it well to make their experiences more personalized, to put things in the flow of work that feel in ways that feel more natural, to make their journeys more fluid and that kind of thing. So that's a huge opportunity of AI that we don't talk enough about. We just put all the pressure on people to upskill themselves or lose their jobs, like you said. Okay, I love this. Steve wanted us to ask you about your horses. Should we do a little aside and say outside of work when you're not transforming? I think that's where your business name comes from, right? Unbridled Talent.
It does. I always say the story of Unbridled Talent was I waited a year and a half at least to start my own business when I was working as an executive search consultant, because I couldn't think of a name for the business, which is totally dumb. Don't do that. Start your company as ABC Corporation. You can change the name later.
Yeah.
Or McClure and Associates. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to try to marry my passions of people and horses. And at lunch one day, a Mexican lunch with a friend, or Mexican restaurant, she said, how about Unbridled Talent? And I looked and the URL was available, and I'm like, done. And I would not do that again today, because no one can spell Unbridled Talent. No one can say it. Every stage I've ever been introduced on, I've been introduced as Jennifer McClure from Unbridled Talent, Unabridged Talent. And I'm like, unbridled is not a word. I don't know why people choose that. But so that's the lesson, horse lesson for all of you who are like, why are we talking about horses? If you want to name your business something that matches your passions, make sure it's something that people can spell and say. But yes, like you, Jess, you spend your time. Yeah, you spend your time on the softball field, and I spend my time with my horses, and that keeps me learning. And I just wrote a post on LinkedIn about that today. I think we all need to have something outside of work where we're learning, we're challenged. And for some of us, that's our hobbies. I guess horses are my hobbies. But if you don't have that, I think that's something that we all need, because it makes me feel alive, not just in my life outside of work, but in my life inside work. And so I think horses bring that for me, and for other people, it's something else. For you, it's the races that you do maybe, and
Yeah.
the training that goes along with that, which is not always fun, but you're growing and challenging yourself.
Yeah, I so agree. Talk to me a little bit about this is so funny, like personal branding and thought leadership. And I say this is so funny because I don't know. I feel like everybody's a writer now, and everybody's a thought leader, and everybody's got a voice and an opinion because we have so many platforms. It's so easy, right? Like everybody can platform themselves overnight if they want to, which is fine, which is actually great. The more the merrier. I'm sensing like this like decline in authenticity. Content is so easy to produce, and platforms are everywhere. Anybody can have a presence overnight. Um, which again, I love that for everybody, but I love reading people. Like I want to know what you think about it, and I want it to be thoughtful and authentic. And I think a lot about this, probably too much, honestly. The how we consume and how we plug into different platforms and social media. And when I find somebody who I love to follow and I love to read them, like I make sure they appear. And I'm big on curating my feed because I don't want to be overwhelmed with a lot of garbage. But I do want to. I spend a lot of time consuming content that is worthwhile and valuable to me. I make sure that I invest time almost every single day. I have a lot of saved articles. Is anybody else like me? I hoard content. I save, 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 save. And like one of my favorite things to do is go back to my saved list, wherever it is, LinkedIn articles or whatever. And I go back to my saved list and I'm pleasantly surprised myself, like, oh yeah, I did want to listen to that podcast or read that thing somebody wrote that I didn't have time to read in the moment. So content and thought leadership, like it's very important. I think it's how I learn and professionally develop from my peers and fellow thought leaders in the space. But my gosh, it's everywhere. You've done a great job. Obviously, in your intro, you explained to us how you've evolved your own expertise into sharing and helping other people learn and progress on their own journeys. Thoughts? What is your advice for somebody who hopes to articulate some voice and have presence? How do we balance this in such a crazy world where there's content and voices and thought leadership everywhere?
Mhm. I think, like a lot of things in life, there's always things, the pendulum swings back and forth. And I foresee, and I think we might be in the beginnings of that, where the pendulum is going to shift from everybody can create content and everybody's running it through AI, and some people are just having AI write their content and you can usually figure that out. No, it's not M dashes because I used those before AI did.
I'm a huge fan of M dashes. I'm like, leave my
I
M.
love my M dashes. But I think we're going to see a shift, and you're a good kind of forerunner for that, Jess, of more personalized content. Uh, the things where it's sharing personal stories. If I remember back to the grand old days of blogging, 2006, 7, 8, when I kind of like, I was trying to figure out how to be an executive search consultant. So I started reading blogs and I found Chris Dunn at the HR Capitalist and Laurie Rudiman at Punk Rock HR and Jim Stroud at the Recruiters Lounge, so all of
Oh,
these
all the
people
OGs.
were
Yes.
writing 7 days a week, not just about, recruiting HR work, but sharing their life. I learned about Laurie and her cats. And now Laurie's my best friend and lives in North Carolina. We see each other once or twice a year, but that developed from getting to know her through the stories that she shared and really in that process, valuing her expertise and her opinion and her point of view, and the fact that her point of view was often very different from mine. So it caused me, I valued that because it caused me to question my own. Well, Laurie articulated this thing that I disagree with so well. Could I articulate my opposite point of view as well? Is that loosely held, or do I really truly believe that? So I think, and then blogging now, nobody blogs on their own website anymore. They're putting it on LinkedIn if they're doing anything like that. I think we're
Yeah.
going to see that shift back to where people are craving that more personalized content. Like I read one of your posts yesterday where I don't think there was anything about work, was it? It was just you sharing a story about your life. And I
Mhm.
like reading those. And I saw in the comments, people were like, I look forward to your posts. but they also value what you have to say about the workplace and the future of work. But they value that more because they feel like they know you, and maybe they share something in common with you, or again, maybe you cause them to question their own beliefs. I think that's where the personal branding pendulum is going to swing to. It's not just who can create the most content. And I've tried that a few times. I'm going to post 7 days a week on LinkedIn. And I get exhausted because I'm just putting up content to put up content, and it doesn't necessarily get engagement. And I was listening to a podcast while I was getting ready this morning, Todd Henry's The Daily Creative, where he was talking with someone about how the like button really changed our culture forever. That now,
Well,
how it caused people to pursue the likes, to value their own worth based off of the likes that they get, et cetera. And it's so true. And I fall victim to that too. I put up a post on LinkedIn that I think is amazing. And yesterday it got 400 impressions. I'm like, why does the algorithm hate me? Well, it might have been because there wasn't anything personal in that post. So today I
mm,
shared a personal story. Maybe it'll get 500 impressions. We'll see. But we need to
yeah.
get back to how can we share more of ourselves, where we've over eons of time learned from other people who have made mistakes, and we learn from their mistakes, or we feel better because they've made the same mistakes that we have, or they share a success and you maybe want to follow the same journey that they took. I think sharing personal stories is where we're headed again, hopefully. And I think that's where we tend to get the most value.
I agree. And people ask me about, I have, by the way, I've been promising myself I'm going to post daily on LinkedIn just to test it. Like, does this actually matter posting every day, or is like 2 or 3 thoughtful, impactful posts? Like I've been telling myself, and I've never done it. I have never done it. Like whatever you're supposed to do, I've never done it because I can't force myself. I literally could not force myself. Sometimes I schedule a post, that's different, but I can't schedule a week of content, or like, I can't because that doesn't feel authentic to me. I don't know what I want to say until I sit down and say it.
Yeah.
Sometimes something needs to brew, it needs to simmer for a bit, and then I find the right articulation of that. So I am terrible at following the formulas and whatever that you're supposed to do, and I don't want to be good at it. I really don't. I think there's something about authenticity, not that everybody should just spout off whenever, they need and want to, but when it comes from a place of authenticity, it means more. At least it does for me. And I do, people have asked me about the sort of, they feel like they know me, they know my kids' names, they know that I race, they know like personal details about me. And people ask me like how intentional that is. I don't know. I don't know how intentional it is. I do think it's important to share your perspective, meaning the point from where you sit. Like I am an expert on caregiving challenges, on balancing career and child rearing at the same time. I am an expert because I've been doing it. I'm like in the thick of it, as they say. And so when I share how I feel about something, I think it's important to know that I've been a solo parent for this long, that I have 3 kids at these ages. Like, I think that grounds me in, I actually kind of know what I'm talking about, you guys. Like, this is my experience of the world, and that's valid because it's valid, because it's mine. And I also deeply want to understand somebody else's, where they sit on the perch of like their perspective of things, because that's valid, that's grounded in their daily lived realities. And that's important. And so I love it when people share authentically, not for likes, because I want to know what your experience of the world is. I think that's why when I was a kid, I loved reading. I'm a huge reader. And I loved reading biographies and autobiographies. I like to imagine what you experienced and what your view, like where you sat in the world when that thing happened. And I like to imagine what I might have done in those circumstances, or how did that happen? Or, I don't know. I think that is the exciting part about influencer economy and content creation. We get to hear more stories. Substack is blowing up, probably because it feels like authentic storytelling, and maybe we actually really like that.
Mhm.
I think there's something to that, but the artificial part of it, I don't love so
Yeah,
much.
I also think it's important. Maybe some of the people on this chat today, I get asked, like I did a personal branding session at SHRM, and afterwards it's a typical question. Someone will come up and say, I don't want to share about me. How can I build a personal brand if I'm not wanting to share personal details about me? Totally doable. Like you said, do what's authentic to you. I said,
Yeah.
write about what you learned about at this conference. Share about the book that you're reading, share about a challenge that you faced at work. Nobody has to know that you have 3 kids, 2 dogs, and a cat.
Yeah.
For me, that's authentic. Like you said, over how many years where I'd go to an event and someone would stand in line after I come off stage for 20 minutes and walk up to me and go, I love the pictures of your horses that you share.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. That was a connection point for us, and I love sharing about that. And if people, people that have followed me over the years, they know I'm Diet Coke, cupcakes, horses, and Keanu Reeves. So you can
Love
send
that
me
list.
all those things in K-pop. Now you can send me things in DMs and whatever, and that's a way we connect because I love those things. But it doesn't have to be that way for everyone. So as you said, it should be authentic to you. If you're someone, and a lot of HR people tend to be like that, I don't want to be found online. I don't, then just share what you know.
Yeah.
Like how people ask me, how do I get started as a professional speaker? Teach what you know.
Yeah.
Do the same thing online. If you want to build a brand, if you want to build some visibility, if you want to be an influencer, share what you know, what you like, what you're learning, uplift other people. I have quite a large following on LinkedIn for some reason, and somebody asked me about that yesterday, and I said I think it's 2 things. Number one, I was there early. I'm member number 5 million something. You're probably less than that, and there's over 1 billion people on the platform now. And from the beginning, I love to highlight other people. I love
Mm.
share what other, back in the day when the news feed was a lot of sharing of articles. I love sharing things I was reading and what I was learning. And now I try to highlight new voices in the space. There's
Yeah.
lots of ways to build your brand as an expert and an influencer or a thought leader if you aspire to that by sharing what you know and what you're learning. But it's also a way to connect with people by sharing a little bit more about yourself if you want to do that as well.
Yeah. And also, I love that. And also, I know a lot of people who say things to me like, I just don't know what to post about. I don't know what to talk about because they have like a little bit of imposter syndrome. Like, what if I don't have the right opinion? Or what if I don't know about this enough to say anything about it? Oh my gosh, please get over that. Nobody is an expert at anything. If you think you're an expert at something, you don't know enough about it. I never profess to be an expert about something except maybe being a mom. I'm not even an expert at being a mom. Like I'm like, it's okay to have an informed point of view about something and not claim to be an expert. There's actually a little too much of that going on. So it's okay to comment or to express an opinion or to ask a good question about something without professing to be. I think that's what prevents a lot of people, honestly, from saying more or doing more, but also no pressure. You can also get a lot of value out of these platforms and following and reading other people without necessarily having to be a contributor as well. Yes, Megan, anybody who claims to be a guru.
Mhm.
I love it. And Josh Rock said earlier in the chat, he brought you a Diet Coke today for this chat.
Thanks, Josh. I've been enjoying it.
He's got hers handy. Fantastic. Jennifer, thank you so much for being here with us today. I've been dying to get you on here forever. It finally happened. Sorry we missed out on Jason, but we had a pretty good chat.
Well, I hope, Jason, you make it back from that 3 a.m. flight. It's brutal, but it was
Oh,
worth it, I'm sure.
yeah. I do know, having traveled with Jason a fair bit, including international flights, he carb loads before a flight because carbs make him sleepy. So he'll have a nice piece of buttery bread and take a nice nap, and then he'll wake up and work. That's my prediction.
You're probably right.
Well, thank you everybody for being here with us today. We're back next week. I'm off to cheer on Kenna. I'll let you know next week how they do. Have a fantastic summer weekend, everybody. Jennifer, thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.